All right, we'll call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to, hang on a minute. Unofficial. I did this today. 2,976 regular scheduled business meeting for the city of Harriman. We will start our meeting with a prayer by Councilman Wright, and we'll follow that with a pledge to the flag. Councilman Wright, will you oblige us, please?
Yes, sir. Will you bow with me? Heavenly Father, as we begin a new year, we would like to express our appreciation and thanks for all the good things that happened to our community in the past year, and ask for your continued guidance to each of us as individuals as we endeavor to make our community a better place for our citizens. Father, we ask that you would continue to look over our employees, especially those that are in the protective forces, Lord, that are putting their lives on the line every day. And for the rest of our employees who provide the services that are so necessary, we pray that they might have a safe year. Guide us in this meeting. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris Ayler.
Here.
Wayne Bennett. Here. Buddy Holly. Here. Kenyon Me.
Here.
Ken Minnet.
Here.
Lonnie Wright.
Here. Included in everybody's packet is a copy of the minutes from the December 9th meeting. Is there a motion to approve those? Motion by Councilman Ayler, and a second? Second by Councilman Best. Councilman Ayler. Councilman Best. Floor is open for anybody that has any corrections or amendments or deletions. Being none, call roll please.
Chris Ayler.
Yes.
Wayne Best.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Ken Minnet.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the special call meeting minutes that are included in your packet from December 16th?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Wright and a second by Councilman Best, correct? Councilman Wright?
No.
Councilman Best? Floor is open for question or discussion or amendments on that. Call roll please.
Chris Ayler.
Yes.
Wayne Best.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Ken Minnet.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the payment of salaries for the previous month, please?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Minor. Second? Second by Councilman Ayler. Councilman Minor.
No, sir.
Councilman Ayler.
No, sir.
Floor is open for question or discussion. Call roll please.
Chris Ayler.
Yes.
Wayne Best.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Kenyon Me.
Yes.
Ken Minnet.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
This time we'll hear delegations from the audience. If anyone would like to address council, you may do so at this time. If you would stand and state your name, and try and limit your comments to 3 minutes to accommodate others that might like to speak. Yes, Bill Alexander.
Bill Alexander, 254 Morning Drive. Where are we on the red light on the far end of Harriman here? You know?
Yes, right before, well, the last time you requested that, Bobby checked on that and was trying to get it included in a, was trying to get it, are you aware of anything on that? He was trying to get it included in, maybe using STP money to do the payment on it. I'll have to check with Bobby on it and find out.
What was the estimated cost?
About 7,000, I think.
We need to do it or put it on.
I think we voted to go ahead and do it, and it was in motion. I'll check with Bobby. Anybody else on delegation? Not being old business? Yes. Mr. Love?
Yeah, I live over there on Cliff Street, on Clinch and Cliff, on Low Home. Where do we stand on that old Sailor Blue store over there, when it's gonna be torn down? I know we agreed to it back in November, I think. Y'all said you'd tear it down. Now, when's this gonna get started?
The bids came in, and the bids were, well, you know what they were. We put it off until taxes started coming in better, and it's on the agenda for tonight for discussion. Anybody else in the delegation? Going on to old business, Councilman Wright,
No.
Councilman Mine,
No, sir.
Councilman Abel,
Yes, sir.
Councilman Best,
No, sir.
Councilman Meade,
No, sir.
Councilman Holly.
Could I let Bill have the floor to talk about the road and road rules?
Who? Oh,
HEB.
he'll be under department reports. You want to do it then?
Okay, we'll
Okay.
got some information on those.
Okay. Any other old business? Buddy? No. Move on to department reports. Kevin, you have anything?
Wanted to let the council know that we have finalized the request for qualifications with regard to the city attorney. A notification will be appearing in the newspaper this week, letting people know that they can request this packets of information so that they can put together their request for submittal if they're interested. We can also send that out to anyone that you may want us to send that to for solicitation of those requests as well. Also, all the employees this week, when they receive their paychecks from the city, will also have a flyer included with that, an opportunity to come and meet and talk with myself with regard to their department or other city issues, ideas they may have for how we can improve our operations and so forth. I've had the opportunity to sit down with council at this point on a one-on-one basis. Also had similar opportunity to meet with each of our department heads, so now giving that opportunity to city employees, not they cannot come see me at any point in time, but this is a specific request that I'm making and setting aside special hours for them to do so that I think if they'll take that opportunity, I'm sure there's a lot of great ideas out there that we can implement and make the city operations better. And then finally, I just want to make you aware of the fact that last week we had received paperwork from the city's head librarian, Barbara Pelfrey, that she will be retiring. I think it was effective December 31st. Is that correct? Yes. So I guess she has retired at this point in time.
Thank you. Anything else? Anything else? Mr. Young, HEB.
Thank you. You say 2,996?
2,976
76.
official business meeting, yep.
My grandfather Fred Newcomb presided over a number of those when he was mayor
Yeah.
back in the 1950s. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Been about half of that then.
Part of the history of our town. Let me just mention a couple of things, and I need to talk for just a minute, as Mr. Holly mentioned about the Rivertown Road lights. We're winding up the current CDBG project. Of course, it's got to be finalized, everything done by the end of this month. All that's on schedule. They're completing the installation of some water lines, replacing some old galvanized lines we have. We're also underway with the process for the 2015 CDBG grant. Currently, we're conducting the customer income surveys. And also, we have a public meeting set, which is a requirement of CDBG. We have that set for Monday, January 19th at 4 p.m. for anybody to come and comment on that particular project. We're wrapping up the pump station rehab. The final part of that SRF money we're going to be able to use to acquire a camera van that we very much need. And we're actually doing some demos on some of those this week. So we'll see how that goes. The Dogwood Bryant Lane electric relocation down in Midtown is continuing. It's not quite completed yet. We're trying to get the line out of the woods and on the right of way and solve a lot of maintenance issues there. The main thing I wanted to mention on Rivertown Road, the work has begun by Service Electric replacing the moving the electric lines. Part of that project will be the installation of lighting, and this has been brought up here before. Well, those lights, it's come to my attention that those lights are going to be installed under the state's contract are metal halide like you have down on the far end. If the council would like to go to LED lights, you know, now's the time to do that. However, that would be considered a betterment, and it would come at a cost of about $12,000 in order to step up and do the LEDs. Now, obviously, doing the LEDs in the long run is, you know, you're gonna recoup a lot of that funds, but it's not a real big rush, but there's about a 4 to 6 week, you know, turnaround on getting those lights in. Of course, we're a good ways from, you know, from needing to complete that, but I wanted to just mention this tonight, and I don't know if it's something you want to discuss in a future meeting, but, you know, my recommendation would be that you might want to look at the LED lights out there, you know, for $12,000, but as it stands now, it will be the metal halide unless some other decisions made. Yes, sir.
How many lots are we talking?
26, I think, Councilman, if I recall correctly.
Do you happen to know, Bill, what the longevity of a LED light versus, I know the power savings is tremendous.
30 years, I believe. And at 30 years?
20 to 30. The only caveat I would make to that is this technology has not been there for a long time, so, you know, the jury's still out on that, but now that's the industry, what the industry is telling us. So you've got at least double the life, you know, based on that, plus the energy savings. I mean, to me, it's a pretty good investment, but that's certainly your all's decision to make.
About an 85% savings is what they say with
Yeah.
using those, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty much shown up in what we've seen in the traffic lights installed in town.
Is that 26 times 12, the cost?
No, $12,000
For
will
all
change
of,
it.
for all of them?
Yes,
Okay.
12,000 will change the lights. We've made, in the original plans, we had additional changes made in our gas, water, and sewer, so we've already paid betterment to do that. They will put the utilities back basically as is, but if you want to step up to something else, then that's something we have to pay for. We've already paid for our, you know, our part of the betterment.
Okay.
Y'all may want to think about it.
Would these be brighter?
To me, the LEDs are brighter. I guess that's in the eye of the beholder.
They shine more directional. They don't disperse the light. They shine it straight
Right.
down where it needs
Now,
to be.
these particular lights will be encased and look pretty similar to the metal halide that you have out there. So they'll be a little different than the ones, for instance, that's going down Rome Street. But you're exactly right. They put out light supposedly not scattering it out into the atmosphere.
Where are some of those now?
Going up by Sears. We remember we put the ones up by Sears.
Okay.
Cost
Yep,
us about
those are not the metal.
No, those are LED.
Yeah, they're LED.
And they cost us
They're not
about
gonna be the same exact lights you'd be doing. To my knowledge, we don't have one of these particular lights up at this time in our system.
Appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Yes, sir.
Chris, if you're putting that on the agenda, should we maybe look at more things that are going on with that? Because that's been brought up numerous times by JD, and we've always been assured that there's gonna be LED lights. I know it seems like it's on a smaller scale, but 6, 7 years ago when they had their first meeting at Bowers and they were talking to everybody, the mailboxes were brought up also. They were gonna put mailbox where they wouldn't have to get out on the street to get them. And then if the street lights are gonna be done without LED, are the traffic lights gonna go back up? LED?
By law, they have to be LED, the traffic lights.
Is there anything else we might have missed on that?
We did get assurance on the mailboxes. I was gonna bring that up. We did get assurance on that. We'll have Kevin double check on that. I'll make sure that's right.
Because they keep coming back and we need to change things. That little 12,000 here and there is gonna add up.
I don't know. I guess if whatever, it's gonna be a slow for me. Still got at least another year on that project. So as you think of things, Kevin, I know, goes to a meeting, I think every Tuesday with us.
Did you come go ahead and, before the next meeting, calculate payback on those lights?
Yeah, and I apologize for not having more information, but this just came up kind of here
That was
on
pretty
spur
short.
of the moment,
In
so.
most cases, it's 4 or
Yeah.
5 years.
So I really didn't have enough information.
You get your name
The lighting that you all put up when you redone basically Realty Road before
Yes.
is the old lighting, correct? But it's new lights, but it's the old way.
Yes.
Will it look okay having the majority of it, the old lighting, and then the other part of it, the LED? I mean, are they gonna look similar in,
The poles will be the same. It's just the heads will be different.
The lighting's gonna look a little bit different. Now, how much aesthetically that changes, again, a lot of that's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. But there will be some difference in the way lighting looks as you go out the road.
We wouldn't change all those ones up Pine Ridge. So the payback is, you get your money back. You save, well.
I talked to Bill before, and we discussed the HEB meetings, as we run out of the old lights, that we just buy LEDs and replace them as they go out, because he's got a pretty big stock, well, not a huge stock anymore, but still got a pretty good stock of metal halides and sodium lights still, at HEB, that we bought.
But one thing we began to really, I guess, stress when people come in and they want a security light, for example, is actually the LEDs are a little bit cheaper on monthly charge for the customer. And most people like that light rather than what you call the orange light, the high pressure sodium. Nobody likes that light. So we're getting more and more folks who say, yeah, I'd rather have the LED. So we're putting up a whole lot more LED security lights. So there's gonna be some savings there, from our end.
I might add, you're talking about a marginal cost of $12,000. That's probably recoupable within a year, the difference between those lights.
You can run the numbers.
Yeah, we'll get you,
I know
we'll get you some numbers on
when the lights were so expensive, when the LED fixtures were real expensive, they came down since the first ones we bought, but it was about 4 years, I think, back then,
Yeah.
because of the fixtures. Fixtures were what, $900?
Yes.
Now they're $135.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
Bill, is this, are we talking about the lighting elements, or are we talking about the actual light itself, the arm and the head?
The arms will be the
Arms will be the same?
Yes, sir.
So the only difference is
The only difference is the actual
that
light.
is emitted.
Yes, the lighting unit itself.
What will it take at some point in the future if we want to go back and put LEDs all the way down to the interstate?
Just changing out the actual light fixture itself. I mean, they can hang on the same, it's very minimal amount of work.
$800 a head is what I think
Change
we did.
those out.
Up by section.
Sounds about right.
It seems like I remember.
They were really expensive back then. The bottom stuff was.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
buddy saying we can do it for 139?
Yeah, no, these are a little bit bigger lights. Yeah, they're equivalent to 400 watt high pressure sodium. So, yeah, it's probably a little more cost on them.
Let's put this on the agenda and discuss it a little further next time. You have anything else, Bill?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Department reports, Chief, you have anything?
I don't have much.
Dr. Curley, department reports,
No.
committee reports. Farmers market,
I think they did some work on the farmer's market today, I believe, did you? Or yesterday?
We did, if you're interested in seeing what the structure would look like on the property, at least where the footprint would be, we went out today, myself, Drac, and Bear, and painted some spots on the light that's out here behind the building. It would show the corners of the structure, which would be an L-shaped structure. We're still awaiting some conceptual drawings from one of the structure suppliers that we have not received yet, but I'll be forwarding that information on to you as well once we have received it, as well as a recommendation, I hope, in the very near future from the entire committee with regard to the project.
very good. I know since we met last, the committee of Chris and Wayne and Ken and you had met and decided on a location and also maybe a structure too, right? The location back here.
Yes, the location would be here behind our office facility. As far as the structure, we do have something in mind, but there's still a lot of question marks related to that, and that's what we're hoping to clear up in the very near future.
It'll come back through council for approval, I'm sure, right?
It will.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Move on to the agenda, the reading of Resolution R0114-01, a resolution of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the City of Harriman, Tennessee to authorize participation by the City of Harriman in the National Joint Powers Alliance. It's included in everybody's packet what this resolution is. Kevin actually had this put on the agenda, so he may explain it better than me. Kevin?
Essentially, this is a nationwide purchasing alliance. They bid hundreds of different products on a regular basis. Tennessee law allows us, as a governmental entity, to participate in that. Your packet included a copy of the letter from the State of Tennessee Comptroller of Treasury's office, where they certified that this does comply with purchasing law in the state of Tennessee, as well as the TCA site with regard to purchasing law that this complies with. Essentially, it's just another avenue that it gives to us to try and get the best price when we are making various purchases. The backhoe that is on the agenda here in just a little bit would be one such example of a product that we could purchase through this organization, which is available only to governmental entities and nonprofit associations. The structure that we're looking at for the farmers market would be another example of something that we could purchase through this particular alliance.
This does not require, purchase through this does not require bidding, does it?
Does not require us bidding the product because they have already gone through that process that complies with state law.
But it doesn't eliminate us bidding if we want to do it that way.
That's correct. If we still want to bid or purchase through any other vendor, if it's an item that doesn't have to be bid, even though they may have a contract for it, we have the right to do so.
In other words, it doesn't tie us from using state bid or whatever we'd like to do if it's desired.
That's correct, and there's also no fees to the city to utilize this, so if we approve it and never buy from them at all, it hasn't cost us anything.
Have you used them before?
I have not used this particular alliance because up until it was either 2012 or 2013, the way the state law was written in Tennessee, this did not comply with Tennessee purchasing law. The General Assembly amended the law back then, making this an eligible purchasing opportunity for municipalities in Tennessee. And so it's relatively new. But in this area, even like the backhoe distributor that I talked to out of this area, they've used this to deliver equipment to the city of Maryville and the city of Oak Ridge. There's a number of different state agencies, cities, and counties that are now a part of this here in Tennessee.
Pretty neat. I didn't even know it existed. Is there a motion to approve the reading of this resolution? Motion by Councilman Ayler and a second by Councilman Minor. Councilman Ayler.
I've been familiar with purchasing alliances like this before. First job out of college, I worked for a company that did it for healthcare, and it worked out brilliantly for smaller practices that couldn't afford, that had to have a high volume but couldn't afford to negotiate their own low rates. So I think this is great, the fact that there's no fee and still allows us the flexibility to outsource whatever purchases we need to make. It's great.
Councilman Minor.
Well, I think it gives us another avenue to make purchases. I think it gives us another way of looking at things. We might possibly save money by using it.
Floor is open for question or discussion.
Yeah, I have two more questions. Kevin, as far as the backhoe, would there be some savings if it was purchased through this organization?
Well, the answer to that is both yes and no. There would be savings based upon the price that we would get today if we went out and got a quotation for the backhoe. Now, with that being said, the price that we received back in October is actually lower than the price that we would get today. The October price was for a 2014 backhoe, and it was priced at $87,900. For the 2015 model, which is what is available today, Case raised all prices 8% because there's a higher environmental standard that they're equipping the backhoes to meet, and therefore the cost is greater. So if you apply that 8% to the quote that we received back then, $87,900, that would make the price today $94,932 through that purchasing prospect. The 2015 backhoe, if we purchased it through this NJPA, is $90,901 for the 2015 model. So it's roughly $4,000 less through the NJPA than through the program that we were previously looking at for the backhoe purchase.
I have a question.
Could somebody yield the floor to?
How do you all cover, like, repair and any issues that arise when you have a problem with your backhoe or whatever you're purchasing? Is it covered under insurance, or is it up to you all to replace equipment when it's...
There's a manufacturer warranty on some of the parts, but then we have a mechanic on duty that does most of our repairs on all of our equipment.
And do they allow you to purchase the items, the repair equipment, at a cheaper price through this that he's talking about?
Oh, that's a pretty good question. You understand what she's saying?
I do, and I'm not sure about the repair and maintenance aspect of it. I would have to look and see if it extends to, if the contract extends to individual parts or if it's the full unit only.
Floor is still open for question or discussion.
Yeah, my only thing, if we do this, I'm guessing this would be for the bigger purchases like equipment, where it wouldn't affect our kind of slogan of shopping here and shopping around.
This can be another alternative, can't we go get bids and then get the state bid and then also look at this as well and use it in comparison, I would assume?
Yeah. Our idea behind this would be larger ticket items, items that for the most part aren't available local. Keeping in mind that, for instance, like the backhoe dealer that we would be working with through this, they're out of Louisville, I think, Tennessee. So even though this is a national purchasing alliance, a lot of the actual distributors that you're dealing with are still relatively local. So, you know, from the smaller items that we buy on a day-to-day basis, we would not necessarily intend for this to replace those types of purchases.
Floor is still open for questions. And this is not, this is just saying that we agree to use this as an alternative. Anytime we purchase anything through this alliance, we still have to come in front of council and get council approval. This is not giving anybody the authority to do anything without this board approval. It's just an alternative, correct?
Well, I mean, the purchasing policy would be the same, so if, you know, if we were to buy a $250 item, which doesn't require approval of the board at this point in time, if that were available on one of these contracts, that type of purchase wouldn't necessarily have to come before the council, but the purchasing policy that you have approved it is still in place, so anything that's required to come before the council today would still have to come before the council.
Okay. Floor is still open.
One of the things you gotta remember is amortization and what the total cost over an amortized period is based on whether you get a interest rate from the manufacturer or from municipal and bond fund. You could get a lower price but have a longer period of pay that results in a higher total cost than a manufacturer's amortization. So we'd have to look at that. So.
Would this group be the leasing agency as well? What you're saying, that's what makes it, okay. That's how they're making money then?
Well, they actually offer a lower interest rate than, say, the municipal bond fund. Kevin showed me some numbers that we discussed earlier today. So it's a life cost of the loan that you want to look at.
Floor's still open for questions. This is a reading of a resolution. It'll be the only reading we have. Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly? Kenyon Me?
Yes.
Ken Minnet? Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is the second reading of ordinance 1214-01, an ordinance to close an alley owned by the city of Harriman to public traffic located between South Rome Street and Ruatan Road. Earlier today, 10 minutes before this meeting started, we had a public hearing on this, and there was a little bit of discussion, some questions that were answered, and some duties that were given to go out and find the answer to. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of this?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Best.
Second.
Second by Councilman Ayler. Councilman Best.
No, sir.
Councilman Ayler.
No, sir.
Floor is open for question or discussion.
So we are gonna check on that, keeping it open, right?
Yeah.
As far as being able to open it back up without state approval.
Yeah, but I mean, she's gonna check on it, but that won't be any assurance that we can do it either way. But if you don't care, check on it and let us know.
I will.
Floor is still open. Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Kenyon Me?
Yes.
Ken Minnet?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is also included in your packets, the first reading of ordinance 0115-01, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Harriman, Tennessee by the change in zoning for the Bonnie P. Ridge property at 105 Woody Avenue, Harriman, Tennessee from R1 to C2. This is first reading. There'll be a public hearing next week before the meeting. However, for discussion purposes, is there a motion to approve this first reading?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Ayler. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Wright. Councilman Ayler.
No, sir.
Councilman Wright.
I just, this is another issue that, you make motions on it, but you don't really know that much about it, but I guess.
Got a plat, preliminary site plan on that property, the proposal is used, if it's out and like this piece of property right here.
It's on the floor for discussion. This is next to, I think, what we, C&D Tire, is that right? What we know is C&D Tire, next to it, there's a, can you say what's planned on coming here? It's on there. Badger Dog.
I can clue you in a little bit on it because it's my backyard, so, the only question I had, and I talked to Frank, I hadn't met him, but I talked to him on the phone, the concerns we had would just be, it being Family Dollar, because there's other issues that he might not be able to go ahead with. Say if the railroad issues don't get taken care of that are on the property, they would not go through with the deal. So I wouldn't want to approve this saying, yeah, let's rezone commercial unless it was contingent on it being for Family Dollar. Because if we rezone it and they back out of it and somebody else comes in, then, because after talking to him, he's agreed to, and you see where it says landscape strip is where they would put a privacy fence and some type of
Buffer.
tree to buffer noise and stuff that would grow up taller than the fence in this landscape buffer. And
So he said they were willing to work with us on that, where it would not be an issue. And somebody else coming in there might not be willing to, but, so it would be more, if we could approve it, where it would go back, or it would stay residential, if they would not go forward with their.
We'd probably have to be, to do what you're asking, I think we would have to be, up to us to do that. Wouldn't we have to, if this fell through, wouldn't we have to shift gears and go back in and change the zoning ourselves?
If it fell through, you
Yeah.
have to change it back to R1. Once you change it, it's changed.
Well, I thought we
But
did something similar to this up on the, Hiscott's on the industrial property, going from open space from what it was, what wasn't it, commercial or industrial, light industrial or something?
We moved it to, we were scared that a junkyard was gonna come in, we changed it to open space so that whatever came would have to come back in front of us. I remember doing that. And then we changed it to something else.
I mean, there's no reason we can't change back if.
Well, it would be, to me, if the property owner that has it changed to commercial, if they don't want to switch back, we can't just go in and switch it back, I don't think. Would be my thought.
Somebody would have to petition the planning commission, of course, and they'd make their recommendation again, whether it should be changed back or not, probably.
Why can't we make?
We could, yeah, we can change it back. That's when you post the property and then they have the right to come to meetings and say, well, we do or we don't want that. But we could change it. Usually if there's any backlash, you don't go through with it, but we could change it. And because that's what we've done on a lot of our property, we've changed it.
Even with it being belonging to a
Sure,
private individual.
sure, yeah, we've done the, down here on the paper mill property, we have done the open space, we've done, any,
I can't speak for the seller, but, I don't know, I mean, right now it's residential, it's an abandoned house. I mean, I don't think that they have any intent, until we approached them about purchasing it, they had no intent to rezone it to commercial. So, I mean, if it didn't go through, I mean, I don't really think, not saying it's not relevant, it is, because it's gotta be, we have to have it zoned commercial to develop it, but, right now, the issues we're dealing with is with the DOT restricting us to right in, right out, and then also the railroad right of way, whether or not we can develop it without them having the ability to condemn the building. So, but we can't move to the next step, with Family Dollar as far as getting the final approval until we know we can develop it and it's rezoned correctly. But like as you said, we're willing to work with you on the privacy fence, the landscape buffer. I think we have a 10-foot buffer on there already per the ordinance, so.
Why can't we pass it contingent on that, agreement?
well, you'll either pass it or you don't pass it. We can't pass it contingent. We can make a side note between everybody up here and say that if this doesn't go through, you got my word that we're gonna go back and do it the other way.
But you would expect if for some reason, Family Dollar doesn't purchase it, that if I'm the owner and it's zoned commercial and I've been trying to sell it, that I want it to stay there.
Well, I mean, it's an ordinance. Wouldn't it be like an ordinance amendment?
But we can go back and change it to residential and then just tell the owner, if you get a potential buyer, come back, and depending on who the buyer is.
Re-petition, right now the petition's in Family Dollar's name, so they have to re-petition to have it changed back to
Yeah.
commercial.
Well, the ones selling it are the ones on the opposite, on Caddy Corner, and that's Gene and Bonnie Ridge. And of course, yes, they're wanting it commercial to sell it, whether it's this time or next time down the road if they back out.
I'm not sure if this is per protocol, but is there a possibility that we could pass the first reading and wait past the second reading once we know what the railroad said?
I don't think so. You all have to have, it has to be rezoned before you can move forward, correct?
Correct. Does it have to be rezoned for you to get an answer from the railroad, or just?
We've been working to try to get an answer from the railroad for 3 or 4 months, and we've engaged, the title company, and
But the rezoning's not holding you up with regard to the railroad.
the rezoning is not holding us up in regards to the railroad, but in order for us to, we have to spend, thousands of dollars as far as our due diligence, and, to my knowledge, this was a car garage, that we have a letter stating, on the commercial piece on the front, that it does have some contamination that can't be developed for certain uses. So we hadn't even gotten into the environmental aspect side of it. And before we get into spending, tens of thousands of dollars to find out that and vet that process, we wanted to make sure we can develop it.
Because, my thinking was, I agree, it's gonna take action to rezone it back to residential if this particular development doesn't go through. My thinking was, pass it on first reading, go ahead and hold your public hearing next week. Since it looks like the railroad and the TDOT issues were the two biggest ones that you're currently waiting to get through, it would be not pass the second reading until you have those answers. But that would give you some assurance that the city is moving forward to rezoning that. And take that up as quickly as possible once you have the answers from the railroad and TDOT. There'd still be a little bit of question mark on the city standpoint as far as if they got in there from the environmental standpoint after that. But I don't know that there's any way around that without just coming back to rezoning it later. But that would at least, if TDOT or the railroad were the ones that killed the project, it would keep us from having to come back to rezoning.
If TDOT or the railroad killed it from being developed, though, even if Family Dollar fell through, it would probably be hard for anybody else to come in anyway. My only question would be, how would we know, if we did pass on second reading, when would we be assured that Family Dollar is gonna happen or is not? That way, if it doesn't, then we can take action and go ahead and move it back to residential. How would we know if the project stops?
Yeah, I could let you know, as soon as Maria knows, as soon as I know. Right now, like I said, we ordered title insurance, it came up, Family Dollar's attorney brought up that, the concept of the railroad right away. And so we got, when these were done like in the 1800s, there was a 200-foot charter, and so this was not acquired by charter, it was acquired by deed. And so we're trying to figure out if that's a 50-foot right of way or a 25-foot right of way, because they're not going to make $1 million investment where the railroad has the right to come in and condemn, the property, even though they've moved the tracks and they've paved and everything. So we're working right now to get a containment letter, from the railroad, which was, I think, defunct in like 1960. And so we're doing more due diligence to find out the ownership of that. We've been told it's Norfolk Southern. We can't get in touch with anyone there.
They're a joy.
What's that? Yeah.
They're a joy to work with, the railroad.
So that's what we're up against. And when we did get in touch with them, they said it'd be the first of the year. So we're waiting on a reply, from them for that issue. TDOT, I've already gotten and received feedback, my civil engineer has, that they want to restrict it to a right-in, right-out. We prefer not to have a right-in, right-out. Do I think Family Dollar will approve it with the right-in, right-out? The real estate manager has says yes, they would, because there's full access on the side. However, Advanced Auto and the tire store both have full access on the road. And so it's not saying that it's unjust, but it's, holding us to a different standard than the existing retail that's already there.
Well, how sure are you of Family Dollar right now?
Family Dollar's on board. This is the site plan's approved, and we have a lease with Family Dollar. The caveat with that lease is that they are not going to fully execute the lease until they know the extent of the railroad right away.
When do you plan to know? When do you plan to know everything you need to know from the state and the railroad?
I know what I know from the state.
Okay.
But the TDOT's already told us what they're going to do. Now, whether or not the city can help us with any pushback with TDOT, which we haven't. We developed 30 stores in 7 states in the southeast. So we have not been very successful with TDOT, in whatever state it is. Once they say this is what we want, that's what they get. But we obviously would like full access. That's the way we designed the conceptual plan. But with the railroad, our attorney Will Griffin today, was sending emails, to get a status update. We've had to hire someone to go back and, with the title company, do extensive search on the documents with the railroad right away. So I know I'm giving a vague answer of when I'm going to know, but I don't know until they say, this is what we found. This was acquired by XYZ Railroad Company in 1960. They went bankrupt, and nobody owns it anymore, or it's abandoned. So if I knew tomorrow that the railroad line was abandoned, I'd say the project's in full go.
So I would recommend just holding the second reading after they've gotten a response from the railroad.
Will that hold you all up?
Will it, I guess it's kind of the chicken or the egg. Are we going to get, if I get all of that, Then I've got to order my due diligence, my phase one, my geotech reports to check the soils. I've got to order civil, survey, architectural drawings. I mean, we're not gonna make that capital investment if we don't know that we've had a public hearing, you know, all the opposition's been vetted, and that we're gonna be able to get successful commercial rezoning.
We're 5 days away from having a second reading. We can do a special call meeting at any time, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So if we have our public hearing next week, and then you hear it from the railroad on Monday, or on a Tuesday, we could have a special call meeting the following Monday to make it happen. If that's, you know.
That's fine. To answer you, I don't think it's gonna hold me up. We can't develop it and spend the funds necessary to develop it until we know we have everything checked off.
His question on the entrance and stuff, you sent us an email probably about 6 months ago, and it was a request, I guess you got from the state. Talking to you, Chris. Is that okay? And anyway, it was a request, and it gave a diagram of how they wanted to change, how the state wanted us to, I don't know if they were asking, I thought they were asking permission according to your email, if they want to extend the median on out where it wouldn't make it accessible for somebody to pull out there.
On this place here?
On this place here, because this is how I first found out about it, was through your email. And then I guess it dropped off when Family Dollar started going through their business restructure, and now it's just came back up again, but it's 6 months or so, 4 months ago.
You sure it wasn't on down in front of Walgreens?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Because that's the first time I was looking at it, and I was like, kept looking at it, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, that's my backyard across from. That's the only reason, that's how I first found out about it.
Can you resend that to me?
Yep.
What do you think, so what are you saying? What do you want?
The way your email stated, it was our choice if we wanted to allow them to be able to go out there, but.
So in other words, you think that we might be able to help him?
I think we can, according to the way it was stated there.
Okay.
But you want to look into that, because once you do that, you take total responsibility for anything that happens. Because we ran into something like that where individuals was trying to get us to do paving over about a paint store not through there, across the bridge.
Total responsibility for what?
If anything that happens.
Accidents or what?
Yeah, accidents. Upkeep.
That's a state approved. That would be a state bill, state.
They told us over there, we blacktopped that area over there, that it had to be this way, it had to be closed off at one entrance down here and one up there. You remember, Chris?
I remember we were saying, he said he made any change to it, and I knew we would have to do it the way they said to do it. But I don't know about this. I would never agree to have been, liable for anything there.
Anyway, you just need to check.
Yeah. We're still under discussion on first reading. Does anybody else have any discussion?
I just want to add, I'm not going to be able to be present next week. I think it's the 13th, and I've got Lloyd Montgomery, who's out of Knoxville. He's coming to represent us. He's the real estate broker that's representing us here, and so he should be able to answer any questions.
Okay.
That might be, I think the next meeting is the 21st. After that, I will be here for that one, so.
And we want the business, don't get us wrong.
Hey, we're trying not to shut the Family Dollar, so we want to keep this one open and get them a new, nicer building, so.
Any more discussion? This is first reading. Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor,
Yes.
Wayne Best,
Yes.
Buddy Holly,
Yes.
Kenyon Me,
Yes.
Ken Minnet,
Yes.
Bonnie Wright.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and schedule a public hearing next week, please, at 6:50, 6:49. Next item on the agenda is discuss and possibly take action on the demolition bid for 502 Clifty Street. It's enclosed in your packet. Like Mr. Love said, back in November, we opened bids for this on October 31st. I think council voted to go ahead and go with the low bid, which was H&H Excavating Trucking, Jeff Hickman, for $6,200. since then, I think that we have learned that they have pulled out. Am I understanding that correct, Maria?
That's correct, they pulled out.
So the low bid is gone and said they don't want to do it. So we need to take action to choose another company. The next highest bid was for $9,800. Brady Excavating, Keith Brady, and it was about $3,600 higher than the low bid.
Make a motion, we accept Brady.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Holly and a second by Councilman Ayler to go with Brady Excavating. Councilman Holly.
I've looked at the bill.
Councilman Ayler.
Have we worked, Maria, with them in the past? Good experience. Okay.
Floor is open for question or discussion.
Is there any problem with doing that? We don't have to rebid it or anything?
You have the choice to rebid it, but you don't have to. You can take next lowest bid.
Is this a local group?
They're
Crab Orchard.
Crab Orchard. He does a lot of work there.
And he's done it for you?
He's worked for the city before and other projects.
No problem.
The floor is still open for questions or discussion.
And where will these funds?
We have about $80,000 for demolition budgeted.
So, okay, we could absorb the extra.
Floor, anybody else have any questions? Keith Brady, call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor,
Yes.
Wayne Best,
Yes.
Buddy Holly,
Yes.
Kenyon Me,
Yes.
Ken Minnet, Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
The last item on the agenda, discuss and possibly take action on the purchase of a backhoe for the street department. This was also discussed for the last 5 years. We recently discussed it about 3 months ago, got a price on it. It's included in your packet. We decided to put it off until property taxes came back in. If we did take action on it, I think by the time we actually moved and started making any payments, taxes would be in. I think that there is a bid in your packet somewhere. I don't find it in mine. But I know I saw it a minute ago.
It's attached to the memo if you have the memo.
Okay, there it is.
What's it look like?
Right here.
90,000.
Yeah, it should be attached to the back of that.
So what kind of motion you need to make?
Motion to move forward with this. What we need to discuss is the, pay for it outright. So we need a motion to either do it, pay for it outright, do it on 48 months, do it on 60 months, or not do it at all.
I'll make a motion to move forward.
Motion by Councilman Wright and a second by Councilman Minot to go ahead and move forward at this bid price shown, $90,901. We'll do an amendment for the lease payment, if we make it that far. Councilman Wright.
I just, want to know what Dr. Curley would recommend as far as how long we take to pay for it.
We budgeted in an area that's equivalent to 48 months. That's probably doable, and initiating it now would probably be the best opportune time to do that. So we can extend it or shorten it, depending on what the calculations show. But if it's close to what we budgeted already, then that's probably the best number of years to go at. And I think it's about 4 years that we budgeted funds for.
Councilman Minor.
There's 2.75% for 48 months and 3.25 for 60 months. and you only get a $400 break on the amount of the payment. Is that correct?
Yes.
I would recommend the 48 months.
Kirby, did you, I just glanced at it on the 48 months at 2.75 for the 87.9 is the exact same payment as it is for the 90,000.
What did you say? The 48 months is what?
On the 48 months on the first page is the exact same payment as the 48 months on the second page at a different price.
I know the interest rates are correct on the 90,901 quote, but I think the calculation for the permanent payment is incorrect.
Yeah, I
don't
think,
they updated it.
I didn't do this, I think it was.
But yeah, these came from contractors' machinery.
What, I mean, the motion is to purchase it, so do we need to specify?
I think we need to specify 90,901 at 48 months is what I would, is that okay to include in your
That's all right
motion?
to me.
Is that okay to second it? That'll be the motion in the second to purchase this $90,901 backhoe at 48 months at 2.75%.
Is that the contractor?
Through contractor's machinery.
Yeah, the actual financing is through Case
Yeah,
Equipment
okay.
itself.
Any further questions? Call the roll, please.
Chris Taylor?
Yes.
Wayne Best?
Yes.
Buddy Holly?
Yes.
Kenyon Me?
Yes.
Ken Minnet?
Yes.
Lonnie Wright?
Oh, yeah.
That's a long time coming. They'll probably have that thing for another 30 or 40 years. If you notice, Drac has gone through and has taken the Christmas stuff down. He's gonna leave up the snowflakes so that they'll transition into Christmas lights. There'll be winter lights, and so we thought to try to do that through maybe February and see how everybody takes it, if it looks good, or if everybody just thinks we're lazy. But it's just snowflakes. So, also, Friday night at the Princess, the Kingdom Airs will be there. And also, don't forget to shop your local business, shop Harriman, shop Rome County. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion.